This is W0TM, also known as Wotum. I don't often do a video, which means my view count is probably low. I hope someone else picks this up and makes it viral because I believe it is important. Unlike many on YouTube, I only do videos when something is really important, and I believe this is. Mandela effect is real. I've known about it for a long time, been waiting for it, hoping that no one would attempt to do it. It's just called the Mandela effect for reasons that you probably have already read. It could be called anything. It's more so merging of dimensions. As the few of you that have watched me on a regular basis, haven't broadcast for a long time, but write me and so forth, know that I'm a devotee of Nikola Tesla and have been since the age of 14, when I was given a book on Nikola Tesla by my science teacher for, of all things, helping him get a ham radio license. Won't get into all that, but I read that book and I was just fascinated. I was essentially an orphan. My mother was in and out of psychiatric facilities after the death of my father when I was age 10. I helped raise my brother and sister, and we managed to duck the child welfare people who thought there was no adult in the house and were trying to catch us to put us into adoption. And at my age, even at my young age, I was not going to let our family break up. I had an aunt that for various reasons could not adopt us, but was nice enough to appear at appropriate times to appear to be my mother, and tricked the welfare people. They couldn't do it today. There's too many records and yada yada so forth, but they did it then. I reached maturity. My sister and brother are both adults. Everybody's doing fine. They're still working. They have good job. Or my sister's working. My brother's retired. I'm retired. But we made it. Everything went fine. Life was okay. Anyway, I was fascinated by Tesla to the point that through a book lending program that was and still is, I think, in the Kansas City area, which is where I live, that you could check out a book from any library like within 50 miles. At the time, everything Tesla had written, had done, so forth, had been put into print and was freely available. I checked out every single book and read them to the point where I had them memorized. I then did experiments, testing, trying out his methods, and I actually made some of them work. I came up with some free radio parts through a ham radio program that I won't get into that, but I was able to generate several million electrostatic volts, which means no amperage but high voltage, which is very much a key to much of what Tesla had. Tesla, in his work, to get down to it, said that there is more than the dimension we live in. There are multi-dimensions, and he went on, if you really read in depth, to describe some of those dimensions. And if you really went in depth, you could figure out how to view at least some of those dimensions. He, being braver than me, I think, figured out a way to actually visit, so he said, claimed several of the dimensions and in those said that there's at least 24 dimensions besides the 4 that we know, which is you have to include time to come up with 4 dimensions, but I consider time to be a dimension. Anyway, I simulated that. I was able to look into dimensions up to the 10th dimension. I've said this to friends several times who of course thought I was crazy, and I pretty much have kept things to myself other than continuing to study many of Tesla's works. At the age of 16, and his anti-gravity theory, I managed to launch from outside a pair of pliers into the atmosphere, which by now is probably somewhere past the planet Pluto, back when Pluto was a planet. I could never get the anti-gravity. I couldn't direct it. I could cause things to levitate, but they would go wild, they would jump, they would jitter, you know. What good is that? Well, I went on to work for the Atomic Energy Commission, who in a sense essentially drafted me because they learned through papers I wrote for school of some of the Tesla work that I did, anti-gravity, time, space, faster than the speed of light, you know, many things that Tesla did. And theories that he had some theories that he could never make possible, because when he died, when he was murdered, as far as I'm concerned, he was murdered in 1943, the technology that he needed was not invented yet. Well, by the time I got to it in the early 1960s, it had been invented. Things like diodes, transistors, other gadgets, technologies, inventions. I was able to do inventions or prove theories that he could only guess at. I didn't pursue it much further, knowing that, what is the world? Even though I was only like 18, I thought, gee, if anti-gravity is given to the world, or free energy, like for instance, I had a motor that I kept running for 5 years with no power going into it until I turned it off. Moving things and, burning coal and oil and natural resources and so forth, all of that represents like 90% of the world's activity. It represents 90% of the fortunes, right down to the person that has $25 in the bank. All of those things, if we had true anti-gravity and had the ability with 3D, which is now coming up, true 3D, to make anything we want at the push of a button, anything except for life, and that's being worked on, and I believe life is being created from nothing right now. I don't have proof of that, but that's dangerous. Anyway, where we are now is that Tesla said the dimension, we're the first dimension. We are number one. Tesla said that. He said number 2 is almost like us. It's almost a mirror. It's almost, like 99%. He went on to say, he talked about other dimensions, the 4th and 5th dimension. He didn't like too much because, I'll just say it, Satan, Beelzebub, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, him, controls or has the 4th and 5th and maybe the 6th dimension. I have peered into those dimensions, and I definitely did not want to go into those dimensions. I peered into the seventh dimension, and it was a brilliant white light that filled the entire dimension. Tesla, in books, in writings that have supposedly been destroyed, you go to the Library of Congress and you look up those numbers, that a number of books, writings that Tesla did, which I have read. I won't tell you how I got to read them, but I did. I read them all, and I have a very good memory. I could almost recite what he wrote. He said, he considers the seventh dimension as being the dimension of God. I know this sounds crazy, but hey, the Mandela effect sounds crazy. 8th and 9th is just random, and I could find nothing above the 10th dimension, and in fact, Tesla said he had gone up to the 24th dimension and found that he couldn't find anything. And he said dimensions go far beyond that, but he stopped at number 24 because he couldn't find anything. And I couldn't find anything either. So why are there dimensions above the 9th dimension, which is the last one that has anything in it? Why is there anything in life? I don't know. You'll have to ask God why he created dimensions the way that he did. To Tesla, there was very adamant that it would not be smart to ever merge dimensions. He did say the first and second dimensions are so close that merging those two dimensions, which appears to be going on right now, could cause a lot of trouble, but would probably not end the world. Bringing in the third and our fourth dimension, the pure evil, you've read about things coming through Stargate and so forth that you really don't want to see. You don't want to. You don't want them in the world. Bringing in the third and fourth dimension would cause worldwide panic. Probably would be the end of the world. So what CERN, for whatever reason, the people doing CERN are all atheists, and they are apparently having some success merging the first and second dimension. Tesla also said that each dimension is more powerful than the dimension below it. So if a merge happens, the higher dimension takes over. Well, that's what's happening right now. When you look at your Bible, for instance, and you see word changes, and you see things like Berenstein Bears and Chick-a-Flick, logos and JCPenney, and there's been hundreds of examples of this Mandela effect changing things, but so far nothing that is going to even hardly be noticed by most people. Of course, 98% of people are numb above, in my opinion, numb above the neck about called the New World Order, Illuminati, what's going on, so on and so forth. They just, if you try to bring it up, they just write you off as a total, that you're mentally unbalanced. So personally, I just keep quiet. I also know that letting loose Tesla technology in the world we have today, with so much fighting, country versus country, so forth. Unfortunately, the group Illuminati, New World Order, so forth, Bush family, Rothschilds, royal family, all of the 12 to 13 most powerful ones, put in Bush and Paraguay, into Google and just read about it. See what you come up with. Put in things like transhuman. Put in things like eternal life. Go to the website www.2045.com. See what you think about it. Go to the website immortality.bus.com. All those people believe that they're going to become immortal by becoming a transhuman, artificial intelligence, organic computer, long term. But coined by Ray Kurzweil, who used to be a friend of mine, and I used to do coding for him, but now he has sold out as far as I'm concerned, and he's interviewed on that 2045 website, and he told me one time he's an atheist and plans to live forever by becoming a machine. And he appears to be he's having success. Whether or not he's my age, close to 70, so he's running out of time. Will he make it? I don't know. But immortality for like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and so forth are already here by organ transplants. Rockefeller at age 97 is on his 9th heart transplant, which of course no hospital would do, but there are ways to get organs, unfortunately, from people that don't want to give them up. But there's many things happening in the world that really shouldn't be happening, but there they are. So anyway, the Mandela effect is starting to happen. How far will it go? I don't know. They're on the second dimension. They're merging the second dimension into the first dimension, our dimension. The second dimension is very close to the first dimension. If they stop there, it may never even be noticed. People will look at the Bernstein Bears and labels on other cans and candy bars and so forth, and the object of trying to get people to stop believing the Bible, they might succeed at that. I don't know how far they're going to go. It just depends if they're going to stop here or go to the third dimension and open up the Stargate, which they have in Switzerland with CERN, and allow in some of the inhabitants of the third dimension, and that's not going to be good. Watch any science fiction movie with some really bad things happening, and call them monsters coming in, and Satan directing the whole thing almost like a play. That's going to happen, or could happen, if they decide to go to the third dimension. The people at CERN, in my opinion, are psychotic. They are atheists. You can be an atheist. I'm not, whatever. I'm Christian, but if somebody wants to be an atheist, that's okay. But they have to be an atheist to have the mindset to do what they're doing at CERN, merging the second dimension into the first, which is happening right now, and then thinking, I'm sure they are, about opening up the third dimension. If that happens, look out. I don't know if there will be any place to hide. Our preppers or anything else will do you any good. The people of the New World Order that are directing this thing and paying for it, they may think they can control it, but I don't think they can. Open up the third dimension, I'll just say it, all hell will break loose, and no one will be able to stop or control what happens. And if they go into the fourth and fifth dimension, you can just write this planet off as far as I'm concerned, and which is Satan's goal, and to take the souls of the 7 billion inhabitants and believe that he has won over God, which has been the eternal struggle of good and evil, God versus Satan. But God is infinity, and Satan is infinity minus 1, which has infuriated him time immemorial. I don't see that changing. I have faith in God. I believe that whatever happens, Satan will not, the fallen angel will not become the new God. The Antichrist will not become the new God, and evil will not reign over the universe. So that is what is happening with what's been called the Mandela effect. So now you know, Tesla was right. Everything he said was correct. Much of it has been supposedly destroyed, but I know it, and you now know it. It's supposedly was destroyed. All the papers were supposedly destroyed in the fire that killed him and 24 innocent other down on their luck inhabitants of a pay by the night cot type living in New York City. And how odd that all of the papers and notes from Tesla's very small apartment escaped and were in pristine condition when I read them in the basement of a locked, very well guarded facility many years later. But Tesla was left to die in that fire while his papers and everything else were taken. So obviously intentional. So this is W0TM signing off. I hope I've explained things enough. If not, please feel free to put comments down, and I'll be happy to answer them. Take care. W0TM Wodum is signing off. Hi, this is W0TM, also known as Wodum. I don't often do a video, which means my view count is probably low. I hope someone else picks this up and makes it viral, because I believe it is important. Unlike many on YouTube, I only do videos when something is really, really, really important, and I believe this is. Mandela effect is real. I've known about it for a long time, been waiting for it, hoping that no one would attempt to do it. It's just called the Mandela effect for reasons that you probably have already read. It could be called anything. It's more so merging of dimensions. As the few of you that have watched me on a regular basis, haven't broadcast for a long time, but write me and so forth, know that I am a devotee of Nikola Tesla, and have been since the age of 14, when I was given a book on Nikola Tesla by my science teacher for, of all things, helping him get a ham radio license. Won't get into all that, but I read that book and I was just fascinated. I was essentially an orphan. My mother was in and out of psychiatric facilities after the death of my father when I was age 10. I helped raise my brother and sister, and we managed to duck the child welfare welfare people who thought there was no adult in the house and were trying to catch us to put us into adoption. And at my age, even at my young age, I was not going to let our family break up. I had an aunt that for various reasons could not adopt us, but was nice enough to appear at appropriate times to appear to be my mother, and tricked the welfare people. They couldn't do it today. There's too many records and, yada yada, so forth. But they did it then. I reached maturity. My sister and brother are both adults. Everybody's doing fine. They're still working. They have good job. Or my sister's working. My brother's retired. I'm retired. But we made it. Everything went fine. Life was okay. Anyway, I was fascinated by Tesla to the point that through a book lending program that was, and still is, I think, in the Kansas City area, which is where I live.